curves.
That's where Vernon Desir just moved.
Yeah, JT and I talked about it.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome.
It's coming, I guess.
If we would all stand, we'll have the invocation by Reverend Sam Rayner of West Bradenton Baptist Church, and then followed by the pledge.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege and honor of living in this community. Lord, we thank you for the beauty of today. Lord, we ask for your clarity to know what to do, your discernment to know how to do it, and your wisdom to know how to be involved and what to do in the future. Lord, we just ask for your blessings upon this time and upon this meeting. And it's in your Son's name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nicole, any changes to the agenda?
Good morning, Commissioners. We have one change this morning. It's PDR 1719ZP. This is item number 8, SMR Northeast LLC, Crestwinds. And this is a change to the staff report and strike through an underlined format. This concludes the changes.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the audience that would like to talk about a future agenda item, something they want to put on the agenda item for the future, nothing that's on today's agenda? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comments. We do have, does anyone from the audience wish to speak on the 2 consent agenda items? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment.
Motion to approve consent items 2 and 3.
Second.
All right. Have any discussion, any questions? Now we have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner DeSabatino, seconded by Commissioner Johnson to accept the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Priscilla.
Yes, Mr. Barnard?
Board, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I want to take this opportunity to introduce somebody that's new to our team. Ryan, would you come up with me? This is Ryan Todd. We convinced Ryan to join us from the state of Colorado, where he was a captain in the Army. Ryan's done 2 combat tours in the Middle East, specialized in rebuilding communities and things like that in the service. We're very happy to have this young man, and we're going to keep him totally engaged to keep his interest up, so he doesn't think about going somewhere else.
That's right.
We're really happy and lucky to have someone like Ryan. And it just shows that Fred Goodrich, Nicole, and the rest of the people on that side of the business, what quality individuals they're bringing in to Manatee County. Not sure he's going to present today unless you pull one of his items, but I just wanted you to meet
Be
Ryan.
so lucky, Ryan. Commissioner Whitmore?
I just wanted to say, I know Brandon was here, and he went to Colorado.
That's
so
correct.
You came from Colorado.
Yes.
I heard Tia left, so, welcome. And as you know, our staff is very excited to have some more help. So let's keep the ball rolling, and we'll keep you interested.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we get started on the quasi-judicial, anyone that thinks they might speak, will speak, or whatever, you'll stand and get sworn in, please.
Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and factual representations which you are about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? Thank you.
All right, we're moving on. Number 4. Would you like to read it in, Nicole, please?
Item number 4 is Z1706, U-Rice rezone. This is a rezone of approximately 1.33 acres of the western portion of our approximately 2.33 acre site located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Allenton Gillette Road and 57th Street East from A1 Suburban Agriculture to RSF2, 2 dwelling units to the acre zoning district.
All right, does anyone need a presentation? All right, does anyone from the public wish to speak on item number 4? Seeing no one come forward, we close public comment. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Whitmore, second by Commissioner Johnson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Number 5, Nicole.
Item number 5 is PDMU 1730P. This is 423 Suwannee Avenue. Preliminary site plan for a mixed-use redevelopment project of approximately half an acre in the ROR, future land use category, within the PDMU zoning district, generally located at the northeast corner of Suwannee Avenue and Pinehurst Street at 423 Suwannee Avenue.
Okay, would anyone wish to have a presentation?
Just want to make a comment.
All right, why don't we open public comment and then make a comment? Anyone from the public wish to speak on number 5? Seeing no one to come forward, we'll close number 5. Commissioner Sabatino has a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the applicant. It looks like a great new project in South County, right near the airport on Swanee, near the entranceway and gateway to the county and District 4. So make a motion to approve.
Second that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion on the board made by Commissioner DeSabatino, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Number 6, Nicole.
Item number 6 is PDC 1710G. This is Palmetto Plaza. This is a new general development plan for a commercial center to include a convenience store and gas pumps, as well as additional commercial uses on approximately 9¼ acres within the Planned Development Commercial Zoning District, generally located west of US 41 at the intersection of 41 and Bayshore Road, extending to the intersection of 41 and Payne Road, at 9025 US 41 North.
Does anyone wish to have that presentation?
Madam Chair, I would like a presentation.
Okay, all right.
When you do give one, I just want them to concentrate on what was approved in 2009 and what's different today. That's what I was going to ask.
All right.
I don't need a whole one, but.
Commissioner Benek?
Yeah, and I was going to ask about access. Ooh, that was not easy to say. Ask about the access and whether or not they're working with DOT, so.
Okay, very good. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name-
Wait 1 second, I'm sorry. Anyone have any ex parte communication? Seeing no one, you may, sorry about that.
Thank you, Commissioner. For the record, my name is Bob Schmidt with Land Planning Associates, and I have been sworn. I'll give you a brief presentation. First, let's orient you to the site. The site is highlighted in blue there, and that is Bayshore Road on the west, US 41 on the east. It's south of Port Manatee and north of US 41. Some of the areas surrounding this parcel are in the EZ. This parcel is not. But it's certainly, the concept here is to have a mix of commercial uses, of which some may be port-related, especially the convenience store fuel pumps. This is not, however, going to be a truck stop in any way, shape, or form. There will be fueling dispensaries for trucks, but there will not be a truck stop. There will be no overnight parking, and any stipulations to that effect would be welcome. The previous approval, Commissioner Whitmore mentioned, I do have a copy of that site plan, if you'd like to see it. This was the site plan, I think, 09 was the year that it was mentioned. I don't have the file number, but it was done to preliminary site plan standards. And you see that there was a convenience store with gas pumps down in the southeast portion adjacent to Rock Payne. There were several office buildings, I think 9. And then there was some strip retail there along US 41 in the front. I don't know exactly why the project didn't get built, except for the fact that we were going through the economic downturn and everything kind of went south at one time, as we all know. However, that site plan did have an expiration date. The parcel is still zoned PDC, Plan Development Commercial. We're not asking for any change for that. But I just wanted the board to recognize that that was the entitlement that was previously approved. What we're asking for now is something less specific because we don't know who's going to come along. We did proffer up on the use chart uses that we didn't want to see here. I know that that's in the record. I don't have it in front of me directly, but I do have a copy in my file. But I understand the concern about access. But we are showing a driveway to Rock Pane, a driveway to Bay Shore, and a driveway to 41. And so Andy Allison is here on our staff to discuss any questions he has had discussions with DOT, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. Jiten Patel is my client on this. He's a local businessman and has done some very nice projects in Manatee County. And with that, I think I'll just go ahead and, I will say I read the staff report and I thought it was well done. I concur with its findings. And we did have a good meeting with the Planning Commission who recommended approval unanimously. And we ask for your approval too. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner DeSabatino.
Yeah, a great presentation, and thank you, Mr. Patel. I know he's very well-known all over the county, and we appreciate his partnership. And so your plan, and thank you for bringing up about the previous plan, because this is less intensive than the other plan.
We suspect that it will be, although it's a general development plan. We aren't going to have that row of offices on the west side.
Right. And so I think with the 3 means of ingress, egress, it'll be distributed which way people are going. And so I don't have any problem with the project.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Benak.
Yeah, thank you for the information. I think that's good information. As I understand it, is because this was done in '09 to preliminary site plan standards, it expired. If it had been a GDP in '09, we would not have an expiration. You wouldn't have to be here. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm not sure if that was in effect yet. I think probably in 10 or 11 is when we changed the code to allow, or to not have expiration dates for GDPs.
Yeah, it was after 10 anyway.
Yeah.
But I think if you have, well, and staff will have to answer that question, if you had a GDP that was approved before that date and it hadn't expired when the new rule went into effect, whether or not the GDP would still be valid?
Doesn't matter. That's true.
This rule wasn't applicable for this project because was approved prior to the change of the code.
I guess I was just making the point that if it
Yes.
had been a GDP rather than a PSP, they might not have had to come back before us.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, seeing that Mr. Patel is involved, perhaps one of these, she's trying to get clarification of
name.
who spoke?
No, she has to get her name.
Sorry for the record, Rosina Leider, and has been sworn.
Thank you. And the uses, Bob, that are approved here, does it include a hotel possibly?
I don't believe it does. No, yeah, be careful.
He'll tell you.
I figured he'd know.
Does, it'll
State
be
your name and
nice.
if you've been sworn, please.
Yes, I've been sworn, so.
And your name.
My name is Jiten Patel for the record, and we are not planning the hotel development at this particular site yet, this
Okay.
point.
Well, that's too bad, because you do a good job with
I
hotels.
know, we try. Thank you.
Okay. So the uses are primarily retail, office, and gas station?
Sorry. Depends on the community demands in that area, and we are just concentrating on the demands of the community to serve the nearby communities because there is a lack of lot of community service out there.
Correct, yeah. It's a growing area, as we know, relatively close to the port. And yeah, think about that dollar store is really the only retail you have up there. So I think this is an underserved area, so thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a couple of questions. I know I had mentioned to staff. I feel a little better that Mr. Patel is involved with it. My concern was the interest to the potential development with 3 different interests in the mobile home park right there by the family dollar store. It may not be a truck stop, but I wanted to make sure that the tractor trailers don't use that Bay Shore Road with the mobile home park there, and then it'd be an exit coming on Bay Shore Road all the way through Rabonia, that'd be the main interest that you come on off of Bay Shore Road into this development. I don't know what FDOT going to do for its 41 interest into this project, and I want to make sure that the residents in that mobile home park there who mostly walk to the Family Dollar store, that that will become the main entry to this development. And I know I had talked to staff. That was one of my concerns that I had with the project. I think it's a great project. I just wanted to make sure that the mobile home residents there, whether it's a truck stop or not, that we don't have 100 tractor trailers coming right there, turning in directly in front of their project, because they do walk to that store on a regular basis, and that's a sharp turn when you come around there from the road off of 41. So I had a little concerns about that. To make sure that FDOT, well, I don't know what they're going to do. If FDOT said, well, you're not going to have an interest off of 41.
Okay.
Bay Shore Road becomes the main entry, and the residents in the mobile home park there have an issue with that.
I can tell you, Commissioner Smith, that the uses will be oriented towards US 41. That's where the trips are the highest. We are not intending to have anything that is the frontal appearance of the project being on Bay Shore Road. There's just not enough traffic for these types of uses, we believe. As far as the access to 41, it's my understanding I'll have Andy address that.
Andy Allison, Allison Engineering. I have been sworn. Yes, Commissioner Smith, we did meet with FDOT early on in the project before we ever submitted a GDP to the county. And as indicated on the GDP, we will have an entrance off of US 41, the primary entrance to the whole overall project, with a 450-foot deceleration lane. So primary focal for the project will be from 41.
Okay, and I think you mentioned a third interest to this development. You call it Rock Plan?
Rock
Plain? Okay.
Payne Road, yeah.
Okay,
Rock
that's
Plain.
the other interest that you could have to this development? You have three interests to it,
Yes,
right?
Bay Shore, Rock Payne, and US 41. US 41 being the primary entrance to the project.
Okay. Is Rock Plain a conforming road?
If it's not conforming, we'll have to make it
I'm
conform.
looking at, tractor trailers swinging out to come into this development. I mean, it's been a while since I've been down that road. We used to ride bikes down there, and I think one car can go down there, but it's been a while since I've been down there.
Clark may want to comment to that. I don't believe it's conforming, but I think once we do provide an entrance to Rock Payne Road, we'll have to make it conforming.
Yeah, I would like staff to do a presentation. My concern was the interest into it, but as I mentioned to you, I feel better since I didn't know Mr. Patel was involved with it. I know he said the right things to me when he's concerned about the community, and I know he works with the community, from that standpoint. But I want to hear a presentation from staff, and I just want to make sure that whatever this development be, I know we do need more businesses in that area and everything. I just want to make sure that the residents that live there all their life, they don't have ability to move, that they don't start coming here after this development and start complaining about tractor trailers coming down the road on a regular basis from that standpoint, and also coming off of Bay Shore Road through Rabonia. Thank you. I want to hear a presentation.
Commissioner Smith, if I can, I forgot to say one more thing, that we'll be required to install a sidewalk on Bay Shore as well. And there may be one already on the west side, so there will be, it's a collector road, and there will be sidewalks on both sides. So anybody coming to this site from the RV park would have access by sidewalk.
Nicole?
Yeah, not related to this matter, but as a follow-up to a previous discussion, just for record purposes. LDC 321.5 speaks to expiration and extensions of GDP. So while this wasn't a GDP, just to answer Commissioner Benak's questions, general development plans in effect as of January 1, 2012. So if this had been a general development plan in 09, then this would be in effect, shall not expire, notwithstanding any stipulations to the contrary in any ordinance approving a general development plan. So it wasn't a general development plan, but if it had been, you're right, it would not have expired.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
And one quick question. I'm assuming you'll be able to pull off of 41, but you will not be able to exit north unless you get on Bay Shore. Is that correct?
That's correct, or Rock Payne, but Rock Paint is not a very,
No, it's not a very good road.
yeah, it's, well, and it's just not a real good point of access to the site either, so that is correct.
All right, staff?
Good morning, Rosina Leider by staff. There is a presentation that was prepared by Tia. I don't want to get credits for the really good slideshow.
Yeah. Yeah,
How come she left?
USF. Cutter, she works for Cutter.
The request is to approve a general development plan because the site is already zone PDC. The site is located west of US 41 at the intersection of Bay Road Short, and the site is with the future land use of Res 9, and the proposal require a special approval because the site is adjacent to a perennial stream, and like you said in the zoning map, the site is already zone PDC, and to the north is the general dollar store that is zone MCM. Across the street is the PDRB zoning, and the other surrounding areas are zone residential. The site was previously approved in 2009, PDC 0558, and this plan, as Mr. Smith, I cannot pronounce the name properly, quote, was approved for a convenience store with gas pumps and a total of 63,000 square feet of commercial and office uses. The site is currently vacant with the X and AA float zone, and there is water and sewer available. There are pictures of the site looking west, looking east,
Okay, Ryan,
north.
pressure's on.
and view south. This is the existing Dollar General to the north. And this is the area across the street, and this is the RV park. The proposal is going to support the residential activities of the surrounding area. Was approved in 2009 with more or less the same intensity they are proposing. Is surrounded by collector roadway and an arterial, and they're gonna, the negative aspect is that they're gonna fill a little wetland, and it's not a really, has determined that has not been degraded, and we don't have major concerns. The applicant is not asking a specific approval at the time of final site plan. They have to comply with all the regulations that are in the Land Development Code, and staff support the request. And if there are any particular questions for stormwater or transportation, they are here to address any comments.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to address a couple of the questions that were brought up during the applicant presentation on access. First off, I'll start with basically a highlight of the site plan and go through, if I could get that zoomed out just a little bit, please. Go through where the proposed access points are and also in relationship to the existing access points. Let me start with the existing access points. Up at the north end of this plan, the first access point here would be the access to the Dollar General store right off the corner at Bayshore. The next existing access point would be the one into Terracea RV Resort, and then I'll go into where the proposed access points are located. First one would be the access point off 41, and as was discussed by the applicant and shown on the GDP is the deceleration lane from the southbound lanes of US 41 into the project. And just for reference, what is identified in here on this highlight is the particular area shown on the GDP for the proposed gas station and convenience store. The next proposed access point is the one that's off Bayshore Road. And you can see its relationship to the proposed, or the existing access to the RV resort. It's approximately 400 feet in distance away from these two access points. The final proposed access point is the one mentioned on Rock Pane Road. And in addition to where it is located, and I know you're not going to be able to read that, but let me read it for you. On the cover sheet, as identified under Note 23, it's specifically referenced to the Rock Pane entrance. The proposed access driveway will require improvements to Rock Pane Road. Such improvements may include paving of the roadway. Specifications for such improvements will be determined at the final site plan and construction plan stages. And I'll be happy to address any further questions the board may have.
Commissioner Benak.
Okay. There's full access, or I'll ask it as a question. It looks to me, but I'm asking this question. Is there full access to US 41, i.e. north-south at Bayshore Road and Rock Pane both, opening in the median there?
That is correct, Commissioner Benek. Those are full access points. They do have median openings, and they do have turn lanes onto those two roadways.
Are there any planned improvements to US 41 that we know of in this area? I know they made significant improvements recently, further to the.
Your name's Nelson now.
Yeah, you're
I'm Nelson
Nelson.
today. All right, I didn't
Galliano.
notice when I got here.
Alano.
For the record, I'm Clark Davis,
Yeah, sure.
Transportation Planning Division Manager, and I have been sworn.
I like that name.
The,
Looks like a Nelson.
Don't be distracted,
Did
please
that or
answer my
not.
question.
anyway, the
Hey, you found them.
there are no major improvements
Thank you.
programmed out there. They recently did resurfacing on this section of 41 from 275 up to just south of the port, and then they reconstructed the road adjacent to the port. You know, they've got the concrete out there. So those were the recent improvements, and I'm not aware of anything else programmed for the area.
Okay. So, yeah, it's an interesting parcel. Thinking about how this was created, obviously, Bayshore Road and 41 have both been there for a long time. I don't know which came first, but obviously it created this kind of uniquely shaped parcel that is, from the records, been zoned commercial since 2009. So, you know, there's not a whole lot of uses could go in there. But it does have significant amount of access, and of course, DOT is the ultimate, I mean, they have the ultimate authority for permitting the access on 41, correct?
FDOT will control the 41 access.
Okay. And Rock Pane Road, do we know what the construction of Rock Pane Road today is?
It's millings that are in pretty good shape. So if you were to drive out there, you'd notice that it's extremely narrow. If you were to go out there today, you would notice that the road is very narrow. But for a milled road, it's in pretty good shape, but it shouldn't have a lot of truck traffic running on it either before it gets improved. So it likely needs to be properly paved before it can withstand commercial traffic.
Okay, so that's something you would review at final site plan stage?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's it for me, I think.
Commissioner DeSabatino?
Clark, or Tom, when you were meeting with FDOT, are they going to, you talked about the decel lane, but is there going to be an acceleration lane for the big trucks coming on to 41?
The conversation will be between the applicant and Florida Department of Transportation. I believe they've had a preliminary meeting with them to discuss access. FDOT does not always require acceleration lanes, even on high-speed facilities. It is much more common for them to require the deceleration and turn lanes than accel lanes. But that'll be their determination.
Because traffic's coming down at a pretty fast clip there.
Indeed.
Okay.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there's no plan, Clark, to widen the 41 at all in the future, you think?
I took Commissioner Benak's question to mean, is there anything in the works, in the 5-year program? Long-term, we do expect the road to be widened through 6 lanes. Anytime you've got an interchange with a major road like that running under it, it's likely you'll need to widen it at some point in the future. And
So the developer should consider the future widening of the road when you're building something there?
yes, but the right-of-way out there is pretty wide already, so it looks like, at least in the vicinity of the interchange, and although this is getting away from it, it's still in that general area. Looks like the state acquired enough right-of-way to construct the future 6 lanes that are required. It runs from about a half-mile south of the interchange to a half-mile north, and then it tapers back down to 4 lanes north and south of there. And that's just based on the county's long-range plan. Long-range plans evolve as conditions evolve, and if we need to think about more, that's a discussion we'll have through our MPO and with FDOT in the future.
So also on Rock Payne Road, I was saying the width of it, will tractor trailers be able to turn up into this project, or you have to widen the road?
Rock Payne is narrow and not marked. It'll depend on the radii of the entrance at the access points, but playing the odds, there's going to be encroachment. They'll have to swing wide to make turns in and swing wide coming out. It's a common issue for trucks turning onto local roads generally, and I think even if it were 24 feet of pavement, you'd still see some encroachment with 18-wheelers if they choose to go in and out of that access. So it's a common issue, but it's kind of expected. It's just the way operations are around commercial sites with large vehicles. Think about just going to your local grocery store and the big trucks running in and out of the back. There's almost always encroachment issues at those access, and it's just, like I said, part of freight movement.
And have we talked about it would be 24 hours in the light structure?
Those matters would be whatever related to code requirements for operating the site and how the applicant, the types of businesses they attract to it. I don't know who is the likely developer and how they run, but most modern gas stations, it's rare to find one that's even 18 hours, 6 to midnight. It's almost always 24 hours these days. So,
Right.
but you typically get long hours, whether they're 24 or not.
Yeah, and I'm asking those questions for the residents there, and also lighting is a big issue in a lot of developments based on how bright it could be if you, at nighttime, and how they're designed. Do they shoot off into another property? I feel better since Mr. Patel is involved in this, to be honest with you. I had some more questions, but he's local and he has done good work in the past, and I know he has the community at heart. So I feel better. I think it's a good project. It's needed for that area. It's not someone just coming from another state and may not have the interests of that community at heart. So I'm pretty confident and will support this project.
Commissioner Smith, for the record, Rosina Lider, and has been sworn. The lighting plan going to be review a final site plan, and the land development code include really details regulation related to the height and the distance of the lighting when you are adjacent to a residential uses. At that time, they have to comply with all the regulations, and we review carefully the lighting plans with every single final site plan.
And thank you for saying that. I just wanted to put, those comments on record for the future, that staff consider what has been said in here, dealing with this project and the road structure, the proximity to the RV development there that's been there for many years. And so I just wanted to make sure that those issues was put on the record from that standpoint. And I see Ms. Tusing back there. You don't have anything to do with this project? You waving, but usually in my briefing. Taking a lot of notes. Okay, all right, I was just,
She's got comp now.
okay, I was just making sure. Madam Chair, I have no more questions. I will be supporting the project.
Just thank you. Just historically speaking, Bayshore Road was Highway 41 until about 61 or 62, when they built 41 in the DeSoto Bridge.
Well, you have to come in.
That was Tamiami Trail, Bayshore Road. And they haven't done much to it since. Commissioner Benak.
Wow, that's great. That answered my question.
Yeah, that was the road.
Oh, it's good to have a commissioner on board that has a history of Manatee County and can straighten us out that don't know it. Because this is a general development plan, and is it intended, and I can ask the applicant this question, and maybe staff can comment as well, that there will be cross-access through these parcels? Because, you know, even though we have lots of access here, you want to make sure that you have, I would think, cross-access, but I couldn't see it on the GDP because it's just a GDP, but I wanted to ask the applicant if that's the intent, to have cross-access.
Yes, all the parcels will, Bob Schmidt, for the record, or Smeech, for the record. I love when she called me that. She pronounced my name Smeech, and I always told her, don't try to change that. I love that. But anyway, yes, Commissioner, what you see is what you get in terms of the access locations. I mean, depending on how the trip generations work and so forth, it may be that we defer the Rock Pane Road access. It certainly is expensive to improve that road. But in any event, yes, there will be cross-access for all the parcels that you see in the GDP.
Okay, so when you say defer it, you're saying that if you don't need it, I know if you add an access point, you have to come back through the public hearing process, but I guess if you reduce an access point, you don't?
I'll defer that to staff, but I believe the answer is yes.
All right, don't mean to ask such technical questions. And I do have one other question. This site is zoned PDC today.
That's correct.
Your site plan says proposed PDC, so that's why I asked.
Okay,
Okay.
saw that too, but yes, it is on the PDC. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you answer that question, Clark?
GDP needed to be amended for access modifications, and we typically do not require that. I mean, I suppose if it were radical changes, we would, but if it's something where they've got a US 41 access planned and they're unable to negotiate with FDOT to get it, it should not rise to the level we would need to amend the GDP.
I know this is a code question, so I'll look to Nicole to, it
Nicole
looks like
is-
she's got an
She
answer.
does have, Nicole.
When developers bring forward a change to their plans, we have a review criteria. It's administrative review, and if it doesn't cross these level of threshold, it's not deemed substantial change. One of the 12 criterias has to do with access, both pedestrians and vehicular access. So if it's not substantial in location or type and still adheres to the county standards, it wouldn't come back. So that's where we work together with Public Works.
Okay, great, thank you.
Commissioner Whitmore?
And I wanted to speak to Bob. I was going to wait for a rebuttal, but since you were asked up, then you sat down, sorry. From one of the pictures, it looked like your project is just adjacent to the dollar store, correct? I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's across the street.
There's a street in between it.
Bay Shore Road is in between, yes.
Oh.
That's the corner.
It didn't look like that in the picture. I was just thinking of some kind of a pathway or a pedestrian, connecting the two, but you can't, I'm sorry.
There's probably a crosswalk at the US 41 Bay Shore
Yeah, I'm
intersection.
thinking of more,
Yeah.
I didn't realize the picture didn't look like that. Thanks.
Okay.
That answered my question, sorry.
All right, having no one else on the board, I'd like to open this up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to speak on number 6? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. We need any applicant rebuttal? Staff need to say anything? All right, what's the pleasure? Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, I so move the recommended motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner DeSabatino. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask the maker of the motion, did you want to add a stipulation concerning the parking limitation on trucks? The overnight parking of trucks? Mr. Schmidt said he agreed to that.
Why would anybody park there?
If you do, I can read it into the record.
Could you please?
And then what we would do is amend the motion to.
Well, is it the wishes of the whole board?
I agree to it.
Well, he
I'll read it
he
into the
did
record.
agree to it, I
Yeah.
guess. what she
Oh,
said.
let me,
Would.
I'll read the record and Mr. Schmidt can respond.
Okay.
I was going to add stipulation A9. The applicant shall enforce a parking limitation so as to prohibit the overnight parking of trucks on the project site.
That's
How you
acceptable.
do it's up to you. I just said a parking limitation.
Yeah, that's fine. Do we, I'm not sure how we go about doing that. Do we post signs and things like that, I assume?
Up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add that to the recommended motion.
The seconder agree?
The seconder will agree, but I don't know if the applicant wanted to say something.
Yeah. What about if it's like a
Good?
RURB?
He's good?
Yes,
Is there
we're
any
good.
question
Thank you.
on having a revote on the amended? Is anyone opposed to the amended? Or anyone have any questions or discussion on amending this motion?
No.
All right, if not, well, revote. All those in favor of the amended motion made by Commissioner Smith and seconded by Commissioner DeSabatine, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Good catch, Counselor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners.
Number 7, does anyone request a presentation?
Nope.
Seeing no one requesting, I'll open this up for public comment. Anyone that wishes to say something on number 7? So come forward. Seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve the recommended request.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Sabatino, seconded by Commissioner Benak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes. All right, number 8.
Item number 8 is PDR 1719ZP. This is SMR Northeast LLC, Crestwind. This is a rezone of approximately 250 acres, generally located 1.5 miles east of Lorraine Road, 1.5 miles north of State Road 70, and 1.3 miles south of State Road 64, off of Eline Road. From general agriculture to PDR, Plan Development Residential, zoning districts, and a preliminary site plan for 651 lots for single-family residential detached and single-family residential detached and semi-detached units.
All right, if the applicant, you step forward, state your name, and if you've been sworn.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Don New, and I have been sworn, and I've served as agent for this project. Let me pull up my presentation, and we'll get going. What I'm going to do is show you some locations and give you a little start on the project. Then I'm going to have Dorinda Marvin come up and give us the history of the area and how it fits into the entire area, and then we'll explain the project. It is called Crestwind. It is a planned development in north of 70, and it's kind of halfway between 70 and 64, and 1.5 miles east of Lorraine. It's out in that sector that you've been working on for the local developer agreement, and we'll talk about that. The SMR is the owner of the project. It is 250 acres and 651 single-family units. And it's vacant out there right now, but we will rezone the property to PDR. Here we are, you can see us, that's 70 down below there, and 64 in the north, and Lorraine over there. And we'll be on the future Eline Road as it comes up, and then we'll look at the traffic pattern in the history here. So with that, I'd like to have Dorinda come up and give us the history of the LDA and the comp plan.
Thank you. Good morning. Dorinda Marvin for the record. I'm here this morning on behalf of SMR Northeast LLC. Just one quick thing. It was fun to listen to all the conversation about Rock Payne. So as someone who grew up here, and I won't say in what decade, but Mr. Payne was my principal at Sugg Middle School.
Oh,
so it was fun to hear his name.
It's good to know the history.
All-timers.
Yeah.
You and Priscilla.
Better believe it.
So I also have here with me this morning Mr. Richard Bedford, the Vice President of Planning for Schrader Manatee Ranch. Some of you may remember in 2009, there were about 7,000 acres of what we considered to be a future development area of the ranch. And we created a new future land use category called mixed-use community that was placed on all of those properties. And as I said, these were the areas we knew that we were coming into for future development. After that period of time, our state legislature eliminated the DRI program. And so while in the past, what you would have seen here was at least maybe one large DRI or even multiple DRIs, and you would have seen many neighborhoods and non-residential in one large project, because we don't have that process anymore, what you're going to see on that 7,000 acres are lots of individual projects. So Schrader Manatee, being a good steward of the land and a partner with Manatee County, undertook what they considered master planning for that area. We have been working with the county, and you will see very shortly master plans for water and wastewater. You approved last month an LDA for transportation concurrency. And so what happened was Schrader Manatee looked at all of their property, identified sort of what would go where, whether those were identified users like the one you have today or future plans, and did sort of this build-out study of what would happen in that area. We've even identified locations of schools, and next week the school board will be considering an agreement for schools. This is the area, this is a map that was in your LDA. I don't know if you'll recall it, but you'll see residential lands, you'll see the thoroughfare roadways that the Stewardship District will be constructing, and the utilities that will provide access to all of these future projects. And the mixed-use community future land use category. Oh, could you go one forward for me? I can't get it to. Thank you. The mixed-use community future land use category has undergone several changes. This property is being developed under the R sub-area, the residential sub-area. You may remember in 2017, what this board amended were regulations related to the activity areas. When we processed that in 2009 under regulations that were in place at the state level, required us to place at almost every intersection the ability to have commercial. You know, what we have found even in that short period of time, things have really changed in how we work, how we shop, you know, whether we actually go to our office every day, whether we get many of our goods online. And so the need for those marketplaces have really diminished somewhat in this area. We've also had some other changes in the ranch, like the core project, where we'll be putting a large areas of work and employment opportunities. So this project is in compliance with the R sub-area and is being developed as such. And Don is going to talk to you about the project specific. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to just start with that to put you in context and remind you of the LDA. So here we are. There's 64 up here, 70 down here. We're about halfway. A-Line Road is built to about here right now, and it'll be coming on up. And then we're bounded on three sides by future collector arterial roads, Rangeland on the south and Bourneside on the east. Here's zoomed in a little bit. You can see there's nothing around us now, but that whole sector, we've been master planning the whole thing, and I'll talk about that here in a minute a little more. Same thing with the future land use that you approved for this area. It was kind of a custom future land use, and we'll be filling in these components as they come in. We're just kind of the first in the area. Same way with the zoning. We're in ag right now, but as they come in on the commercial and future residentials, we'll be surrounded by like kind and do that. We always look at the surrounding areas. It's not real applicable in this case because they're kind of far away, but you know, kind of typical Manatee County. We always look at the density. So from 1.5 to 2 to 3, you know, typical densities on residential projects. You can see they're kind of a distance away, but as we fill in, we've been planning with our neighbors on what's going to go next to us, and for compatibility purposes, we'll be fine. And density. We're right there in this category. It is allowed a net density up to 9 units an acre and gross density of 3. We're a little less than that, 2.7 because of our design, and on net and gross we're 2.61. Access points, we have 3. As I said, we're surrounded by the 3 future collector arterial roads, so we're nice and spread out here. Nice design, loop streets, no excessive cul-de-sacs. Coulter Homes designs their streets to be wider than normal and very pedestrian friendly, like a park-like lineal park. So we have access. I think we split it up pretty well. Work with transportation on placing those. So we'll have the main entrance on E-Line, and then on Rangeland and the future roads. Our open space, we're way over required. 35% required. We have 114 acres of open space. And one way we did that was because we planned for those future roadways and put nice big buffers, 50-foot buffers with nice berms and plantings on them. And I'll show you that on the open space plan. Here it is, I said 114 acres of open space, a lot of blue and green on that plan. If you notice, see the buffer that runs all the way around it, all along the future roadways, so there'll be no issue with that in the future. Nice 50-foot buffers with berms and landscaping. Our project phasing will start as E-line will be the first road that goes in to on our western side, and we'll start on the west and move that way. Of course, this could change as market and absorption rates go, but I wanted to show you that. And here's some typical stuff that they do. The Crestwind is Coulter's product for active adults, and they're known for nice landscaping and pedestrian-friendly streets and beautiful entranceways. There's a typical entranceway. Here's a typical home that they build in their Crestwind. And here's a typical Crestwind clubhouse. As I said, it's targeted for active adults and restricted, so plenty of amenities that you would imagine in an upper scale active adult situation with plenty of nice clubhouse and tennis courts and all the amenities. So the positive aspects of master planning, this transportation, you can do this in a whole. So we use the same transportation folks as SMR, so everything was planned all together. Utilities are good because it's done in a holistic fashion. We looked at we've been working on this master plan with capacity and distribution, and the natural systems the same way. Bring in ECO, they're doing the whole master plan plus us. We have no environmental impacts on this project at all for 250 acres. That's pretty remarkable. I've been in this business a long time and brought a lot of projects before you. I don't think I've ever been one exactly like this because SMR has done an excellent job on this master planning. We've been in boardrooms with all the surrounding people. It's us, Stantec, Kimley Horn, Height, everybody in the same room, and our future neighbors, possible future neighbors even. They brought us all in. They set us around the table and said, you people play together nicely and do a good master plan.
Imagine that meeting.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I've never been involved in one.
Is that one the first one?
I've never been exactly involved in anything like this, but it was done very, very well.
I've been in some of those meetings. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, it's SMR. What can I say? They insisted upon it, and it worked out very well. But I just never been involved. And then the same way with staff. They had to juggle a lot of things too. So just to wrap it up, our landscape buffers exceed the code requirements. Also, the open space exceeded requirements. This is a nice plan and a good company. I've worked with this company, Coulter, for quite a few years now. They do good work. They're a good company, very reputable, and they do nice developments. We want to move this forward immediately so we can tie in everything. Everything will be under construction out there at once. We'll comply with all the comp plan and zoning. We're not asking for anything special here. We did our design and we'll comply with the regulations. Staff recommends approval, and Planning Commission looked at it and unanimously recommended approval. And I did want to mention the overall effort of staff. This is not easy with us, and staff has been in some of those meetings too. We've done a lot of the private meetings with all the future users there, but staff has been involved with it too. And Rosina, in particular, had a tough job pulling all this together and getting us going. So we're kind of the first ones here, but they've done an excellent job. With that, I'll answer any questions you might have, but hopefully respectfully ask for your approval and we can move this forward.
It's time for applicant questions only. Commissioner Benak?
Yeah, thank you for that presentation and Dorinda for explaining the overall. The success of Lakewood Ranch is undoubtedly, and everybody knows what a success Lakewood Ranch is because it is a master plan community and had the foresight to establish school sites, to establish parks, establish major roadway corridors. And, it's no secret, because I said it the last time, this process gave me a little bit more angst of not having an approved master GDP where you kind of knew where everything was. And so this is a little bit different. So I do appreciate Dorinda talking about that, and you two, Don, about showing about how you've been meeting, because this is coming in a little bit more piecemeal. But as I understand it, you have established where schools are going to be in this overall area, even though we've not seen a plan for overall schools. As I understand from Dorinda, you've met with the school board, and maybe you could just comment, and I read the school letter, and we all know school concurrency requires them to look in the area, and certainly there's enough school capacity according to the school letter. But just want to get a little level of comfort that, in fact, that, as Dorinda said, you've met with the schools, you have the roads laid out, you have the plan for funding the roads, for putting them in ahead of time. Again, that's just a little bit different than what we've seen. So if you could just comment on that.
No, it is. And like I said, I've been in this business a long time, I've never seen anything quite like it. But with the stewardship district and the funding and the bonding of all the roadways to be under construction at the same time, it's all approved. And looking at it in a holistic view, having all the individual people and even the future users as far as the distribution, collection, water, sewer, roadways, turn lanes, all of that. They said, well, you talk to your neighbors next door. Do they have any preliminary plans? So we've had a lot of those meetings, and the funding is in place, I understand, for the entire infrastructure, roadway structure. So that'll go in, and then of course, we won't be able to do anything until we get all that stuff in anyway. We're just kind of the first one. So.
And it's a beautiful development. I mean, there's no doubt from everything we've seen that this is going to be an incredible development, and it's. This is the area kind of, you don't get any further east in the urban service area here. We're kind of at the boundary, but I think this is a beautiful development. And my only other question was what is being proposed? It's kind of interesting that you have that little area to the south. There's a proposed development there as well, a residential development. It's
There
not
is a
something we've
future
seen.
residential. They're not as far along as we are, but we've lined up our entranceway with them. And also on the other side of the street, the preliminary people are in, and the people with interest in these projects and in these parcels that have preliminary, and some of them under contract. You'll be seeing these as they come in, but we've coordinated with them all.
Thank you.
Dorinda, did you?
Maybe I can just point out some of the uses that are here. Dorinda Marvin, for the record. This is the map that we created to go forward with the master planning. And what you'll see in sort of, I'm not sure how to describe that color, just sort of the largest color that you see there. Those are the residential parcels. And we are here this morning with Coulter. There are 3 other residential projects. This property here is also in for review. This project is in for review, and this project, I can't see. This project is also in for review. What you see here are some properties that are actually already developed. The large piece is Lakewood National, and on the south side of State Road 70, Del Webb, because those were part of the original MUC. What you'll see in the lightest color here, this is a planned K through 8, which is a new model that Manatee County School District is going forward, and this will be the first K through 8 school. And there is an additional high school located here. And next week, there is an agenda item for the school board to consider that contract.
Right.
You'll see that we've also located future commercial parcels. So as I said, everything was taken into consideration where all of those land uses would be. And we are bringing those in slowly. I said you have 4 projects under consideration right now. You'll be seeing those over the next few months.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Just one quick question. Has Coulter trademarked that term active adult community?
Active adult? No, I think that's a kind of an industry standard.
It's kind of a catchy phrase for, old people only.
I liken it to kind of a country club without the golf course.
Yeah.
But highly amenitized, and the streets are very different too, in that they do. The cross-sections of the streets, they make them very pedestrian-friendly. They make them wider with landscaping between the sidewalk and the roadway. And even the local streets are wider than normal. They could get more units, but they amenitize it so it's very friendly.
I want to live there.
Yeah, and the same way with all the lots layout. And then those streets you see, the main boulevard will be wider, and then even these are 61 feet instead of your typical 50 feet.
Goodness.
To make them a very lineal park-like. And that's one of their their amenities also.
Commissioner Ball?
Yeah, just real quick, I am familiar with Coulter. They build beautiful properties. And I was just curious if you could, I don't know if this, I guess this will be okay, if you could name some of the projects that they've done locally in the Sarasota
Locally,
Manatee
I've personally
area.
done artistry for them that's under construction right now in Manatee County at the end of Palmer Boulevard. If you drive out there, you see that entranceway is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's a nice development. It's 600 units. Another one that's under construction right now on Palmer Boulevard is Worthington. It's a conservation subdivision, and that's under construction right now. It hasn't been finished yet, but I entitled that for them also. And then, of course, their big projects downtown on the high-rise in Sarasota and in St. Pete. I think it's going to be the largest building on the west coast of Florida.
I've been in one of the buildings in Sarasota, and it's
Yeah.
very, very nice.
It's nice.
Madam Chair, that's all I wanted to know, and when you're ready, I'll be happy to make the motion to approve.
I
Thank you.
still have things to go through, but I'll call you up. Staff, you ready for your presentation?
Good morning, Rosina Leider by staff, and I have been sworn. The applicant covered all this information related to the zoning, the future land use category, the density, but I would like to show the, let me go to the, give me a second to find. Erin, can you move to page 9?
That's okay.
That one. This one is the preliminary site plan.
Fancy.
No, the previous. Let me.
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize. I tried to. Okay. This is the preliminary site plan, and like the applicant mentioned, this boulevard is 70 feet wide and include green areas in both sides, and the rest of the roadway neighbor is 61 feet wide. They are proposing 50 feet roadway buffer instead to the regular 20 feet. And the amenities that they are proposing are, sorry, I don't know what I am doing with this.
That's all right. Don't.
No, Erin. Sorry, I apologize.
We're okay, honest.
No,
It's only 10 o'clock. We're fine.
You may be okay.
it's early, no.
Deep breath. You go up there and present. It's not easy.
How's your arm feeling?
Questions? Oh.
It's that one, stop.
Okay.
They have, like they says, the main access is in Huey Lane, and the second access, principal access is in Rangeland, and they have another access along Burnside Boulevard that's gonna be for residents only. And they propose an amenity center, a big amenity center, and also they have other minor recreational areas along all the subdivision. The minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet, and they're asking for determine at final site plan how many gonna be single-family detached or attached. And we really think that believe that the application compliant with all the regulations and provide a really good roadway neighbor with a really good landscaping, and we recommend approval.
Thank you.
All right, before we have questions for the staff, does anyone have any ex parte communication to declare? No. All right, seeing none, thank you. Anyone have any questions for the staff? If not, we'll open up for public comment. All right, anyone from the public wish to speak on item number, whatever we are?
8.
8, thank you. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Does the applicant have any rebuttal they would like to make?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Ball.
Madam Chair, based upon the staff report, evidence presented, et cetera, I move to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, we have a motion on the board made by Commissioner Ball, seconded by Commissioner Whitmore. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Can't wait to see it.
Okay, number 9.
Item number 9 is Plan Amendment 1802, Ordinance 1817, Ecoplex, Inc. And this is an ordinance for a privately initiated text amendment by Ecoplex to amend Element 1 to add specific definitions for alternative energy generation facility, low-tempered thermal power, solar array, and solar field utility use and utility use. And I'll let Margaret expand a little further upon that.
Expand.
Good morning, Commissioners. Margaret Tusing with Building and Development Services. As Mrs. Knapp said, this is a privately initiated text amendment to the comprehensive plan. And in attendance today, we have Peter Parkinson of Ecoplexes and also Josh Philpott from Stantec. The current regulations that we have regarding place solar arrays and other alternative energy sources in the same classification as the traditional coal, oil, and gas-fired power generation facilities, which requires them to be located in the public, semi-public future land use category and then require rezoning to PDPI. The proposed initiated comprehensive plan text amendment has definitions that are included for solar power alternative energy sources, as well as defining our utility use and utility use heavy, which is currently included in the Land Development Code, but was not included as definitions in the comprehensive plan. So that is how we will determine what zoning districts would be appropriate to locate these facilities. We are also revising Policy 2115 to encourage the development and use of renewable energy sources and adding to the conservation element Goal 3.5, which is to promote the development and use of alternative generation facilities, and Objective 351, which is also discussing alternative generation facilities. Additionally, these proposed changes will provide the mechanism for us to update the existing land development code to incorporate development standards for these facilities. Upon adoption of the text amendment, the privately initiated text amendment to the Land Development Code will be scheduled for public hearing. It's anticipated that will happen Planning Commission in June if everything goes well with the comprehensive plan, and then the board meetings in August for first and second reading. Staff does recommend transmittal of this comprehensive text amendment, and as I said, there are representatives here from the developer and the applicant. At this time, this is a text amendment, so there is not a specific site.
Commissioner Benek.
Yeah, this is interesting. So the changes to the comp plan, where will these type of uses be permitted uses?
What we're proposing in the Land Development Code is to have them as permitted uses in the agricultural district, the A zoning, and then also in industrial.
Okay.
And generally, these facilities take between 300 and 600 acres to generate, they usually generate a little bit under 75, I always get it wrong, megawatts. I always want to say kilowatts, megawatts.
And so this is not a county-initiated amendment. This amendment was
ma'am.
initiated by Ecoplexus, Inc.?
Yes.
Can I ask questions who Ecoplexus, Inc. is?
They are here, and Mr. Parkinson will be able to tell you.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions of me, ma'am?
No, it's just, it's interesting knowing that I went through permitting of a solar field already. And one of the issues that we had that came up, and I still don't know how to address this, was because lots of times when you go on these ag sites, some of it's been cleared, some may not have been cleared. And was issues about tree removal. It was one of the major issues we had. So I don't know, I don't see anything that would change that, but it's just something that occurs to me. When you're on an agricultural site, you can clear a site for agriculture. You can grow tomatoes, you can wipe all the trees out and plant tomatoes, totally permitted. But if you do solar and do that, you sometimes run into a huge cost obstacle because you have tree replacement. So it's something to think about. I don't know that it's, obviously this is a comp plan, we don't have those types of regulations, but I'm sure it's something that is to be thought about when we do the land development code standards for these types of uses.
Right, and that we will take that into consideration. Right now, what we're proposing, it will be under Chapter 5, where the specific standards for solar will be located, and we will be looking at that. And right now, we're proposing for it to be a permitted use.
Okay, interesting. All righty.
For the record, Pete Parkinson with Ecoplexus, and I have been sworn. Ecoplexus is, we are a solar developer owner all across the country. So I have offices in Durham, office in San Francisco, and I get to live in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
So
Colorado today.
If I might, Madam
Go
Chair.
check a field trip.
we're gonna have to.
We had horrible snow this year. It's not the year to come.
Snowed yesterday, I think.
Colorado and horrible snow don't seem to go together since I've been out there skiing. I think it's called wonderful snow.
Not if you live there all the time.
So Ecoplexus, do you build solar facilities? Is that what you do?
All the land development build, the financing can vary, but we own and operate all of them, a lot of them all over the country still. So we don't leave once we're done.
Okay. So then do you sell to the power companies?
So the two things that make these viable are interconnection, allows us to plug in, and the power purchase agreement, which allows us to sell.
Okay, interesting. And what kind of technology do you use for your solar?
We use PV and trackers. Down here, we'll have to kind of decide just because of the wind, with hurricanes potential and whatnot.
Okay. And is solar thermal still viable? Is there any of that kind of still going on?
Not much, California, Arizona, they're pretty intense, where this is a much more benign solar.
So we can presume, since you did this comp plan amendment, that you might be doing something in Manatee County?
Obviously.
I sure hope so.
It would be.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
I have one.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I have a question also, since Commissioner Benak asked that. Are there different solar companies around in America? And I wanted to find out, I'm asking you the question it is.
Yeah, there's all sorts of solar companies out there.
Okay, and my question will be to staff after that then. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a question for staff then?
Yeah, I wanted to find out the process since it is. How do we come to a conclusion to select different solar companies? I mean,
Margaret?
We don't.
you know?
We know.
don't.
We
We
know.
Choose FP&L.
Yeah.
Pick us. We know. They were.
Sort of.
Well, I understand that, but I believe FPL has a certain territory right now. I'm wrong about that?
Well, that's
They have
by the
agreements.
public service.
Well, exactly. That's why I want to get the question since, unless we have one already in effect. Did they come before us? I think that question was answered, and the process from here, and does it open the door for anyone else to participate?
Yeah, free enterprise.
Again, Margaret Tusing with Building and Development Services. Commissioner Smith, if your question is, is Ecoplexus the only solar private company that would come in? No, they just happen to be someone who wanted to try and fix our current system of how you get solar power. One of the issues is when you do a comprehensive plan amendment to public, semi-public one, then your land is forever associated with that. And if at some point in time, the solar field goes away because there's different technology, who knows what could happen 30, 40 years from now. Your property is still designated that, and it can't go back to a different use without a comprehensive plan amendment. We had proposed, we were looking when they came in, was probably November, December of last year, to perhaps incorporate this change as part of our process improvements. However, there was some concern that we might have delays regarding that, based on the magnitude of the changes that we are proposing. So that is why they said, no, let's continue and process it separately. This is not related to any individual company or to any individual piece of property. The comprehensive plan is setting the framework for the development, and then you look to the land development code to determine where are we proposing or where will they be permitted to happen. So it's not related. They just happen to be the people who paid the money to do the comprehensive plan amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
My last question, so it will be open up to anyone else, who want
That
to
is
come
something
before
that
us.
is controlled by the state, and, there are regulations regarding this that we are really not party to.
And the reason I'm asking, I think I just read recently where a whole city is going solar, if I read it right, and I just want to get a better understanding in the entire city, I believe.
Well, I think the city of Sarasota is proposing to try, I don't know if it's making the government facilities, one of their goals in their 2050 plan, I think, is to try to make them solar. Babcock Ranch, which is down in Lee County? Charlotte County. They are, again, it's a Florida Power facility that is attached to Babcock Ranch, and they are solar based on having that facility, the solar array facility next to them.
And the reason I asked that, I was in recently at IMG, and it was a presentation on solar and Babcock and everything, and what they're doing to that community and everything, and how it would save money. And so that's why I'm asking these questions here from that standpoint. It was a wonderful presentation that was given on the future and climate control.
Right. And that's one of the things that we're looking at also is the, environmental benefit of reducing our dependence on coal, oil, or gas. And, we are the Sunshine State, so now we're starting to utilize it to generate power.
Right.
Smart move.
Glenn would love us.
Seeing no other questions, I'll open this up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Amended motion.
First public hearing.
Get a presentation if you want.
Yeah,
Sure.
can we see it?
Love
Yeah.
it.
Well, can we vote? Well, it's up.
It's up to the board. We do have a
It's
prepared
legislative,
presentation,
so
but
applicant.
if you're,
I would like to see the
All right,
presentation.
bring it on. All right, but we've closed public comment. Go ahead.
Madam
just
Chair,
for the
we have
record,
to
I'm
keep
Josh
public
Philpott.
comment open. This is a public
All right,
hearing.
public comment's open after the presentation. If someone wants to comment, all five of you, y'all can bring it on.
Be careful, just don't oversell.
That's right.
right, for the record, Josh,
That's right. You already got the job.
just for the record, my name is
Oh,
Josh
that's-
Philpott. I'm with Stantec, here on behalf of the client, Ecoplexus. I have been sworn. Just briefly, Margaret did a great job describing the request. We're proposing to amend the comprehensive plan to allow for a more streamlined permitting process for solar facilities. One of the reasons why we've elected to do it through a comprehensive plan versus site-specific comp plan amendments and zonings, rezonings of property, is to allow for the overall county to benefit from this. Our client was willing to go through the process to amend the comp plan, to revise the policies to encourage the solar development, as well as we're in the process of doing a land development code amendment as well to address the design standards, such as the discussion that came up earlier about the trees. Solar, as you've heard, is really taken off in the last few years. The price has come down, the technology's come up. It's made it a huge increase over the last few years, and we see power becoming more localized and also more focused on energy efficiency. And solar can be located with minimal disruption on agricultural fields and operate for a period of 20 to 30 years and be taken out and either the field returned to agricultural or some other use. And it also could be repowered or continue to operate in the future. So the focus of where you're seeing the most growth in solar right now is in agricultural areas. It's still farming. It's just farming radiant energy and instead of crops. And so current regulatory structure, all solar facility or all power generating facilities are required to go through the PSP1 future land use classification. And part of the PSP1 future land use classification requires a rezoning to plan development public interest. In agricultural areas, it's not necessarily the most appropriate place to change a future land use classification to PSP1. So we're proposing to amend the comp plan to allow for solar not to be located in a PSP1 future land use classification, and then amend the land development code to find the most appropriate places for solar facilities. And as we've discussed, it's mostly to this point been agricultural and also in industrial areas where it would not be disruptive. So again, we're adding definitions to allow for alternative energy facilities. One of the questions that came up previously, this is not for wind. It's is focused to solar. Again, solar is very low impact. Even during construction, there's minimal disruption to the land. When it's completed, visual impacts are very minimal and can be landscaped and buffered from adjacent roads, and those will be included in the land development code as well. Ms. Tusing outlined the two definitions between utility and heavy utility. Alternative energies alternative energy facilities are included in the utility use, whereas more intense heavy wastewater, solid waste treatment facilities, water treatment plants, and heavier uses are going to be in the heavy utility use. And those facilities will still be required to be in the PSP1 future land use classification. Again, amending policy 2.1.1.5 to encourage the development of renewable energy facilities, and amending the conservation element as well to encourage those facilities. We're working with Margaret right now on the land development code amendments that will address the design standards such as trees, impacts to the surrounding community, and those will be brought forward following this process, and we'll really determine the appropriate zoning designations and all the design standards to address any compatibility or development concerns in the future. And with that, that's the presentation. If you have any other questions.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, wait, we have, first of all, public comment, anyone that wishes to speak? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Commissioner DeSabatino,
I
and I'll
have
go
a
to Commissioner
question.
Whitmore.
This is interesting, and this is for our attorney. Since this gentleman indicated a great report that the solar fields are put on ag land, and they would still enjoy the ag exemption. Commissioner Smith is listening.
I'm listening to you.
And
What, there a catch?
What ag exemption?
so if it's put on land that's zoned ag, and they put a solar field on it, do they still, the owners still enjoy their ag exemption? Or does that change their exemption to some industrial or something else that the owner wouldn't have the ag exemption anymore? I'm just asking that general question.
It's a good question.
I don't know. We have to ask the property appraiser. Maybe staff can contact them
There you go.
Okay, that would be a
see-
great question to
see how they
ask.
apply that.
Staff needs to
Right.
ask that question.
Exactly.
Very good question, actually.
Okay.
That is a good question.
All right, Commissioner Whitmore.
I make a
Excuse me,
motion to
excuse me,
approve.
Commissioner Benak.
Well, we can still make a motion to second and
keep
then
trying.
comments.
We keep trying.
No, I interrupted, and I want to make sure I got clarification. When we're talking about ag exemption, you're talking about tax.
Right.
What is the tax policy? You know, and that,
Affecting their exemption and their tax purposes, and if it's quote farming, or if you're calling it solar farming, is it farming, or is it change the designation that they have to pay a different tax category?
Well, I guess because this is a comp plan amendment, we could consider that question. I would assume if it was a zoning amendment, we couldn't consider that question because we're not supposed to consider financial matters.
I think it was just a question
My
for
question is in
background.
general, not regarding this.
Not this,
But you
okay.
brought a good point.
Okay.
Okay.
So also, the land that you're putting it on, if it's ag exempt, they might want to explore if it's going to affect their tax structure.
Okay. Commissioner Whitmore.
I make a motion to approve
Second.
And just for the record.
the recommended motion.
Yeah, the recommended motion is for
Comp plan,
transmittal.
right, for
And
transmittal.
the adoption hearing will occur in several months from now.
True.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Whitmore, seconded by Commissioner Ball. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye.
Madam
Motion
Chair?
passes. Commissioner Whitmore.
I have it's about this energy actually, and that's what I wanted to bring up, and well, I wanted to wait till after the vote. I don't know if any of you know Mike Thrasher, you know Lee, right, correct? They have just built, in Northwest Bradenton, they bought a house right on the river, very large ranch style. And if you don't know Mike Thrasher, he's one that did Pine Avenue, the net zero carbon footprint that's known all over the world. We've had people from, a whole group from China come this last year to look at Pine Avenue, believe it or not. But he just did something with his house with Tesla. So I already copied it, and I want to read it to you because he had a hard time with our building department at the time, our permitting, because of this very issue, and he's been working on it for a while. There's a lot of stuff he's doing. But he says he's fitting the new style solar PVs, which stand for photovoltaic. Because I've heard him say that. Panels to the roof and storing energy from the sun into Tesla Powerwall batteries. This will run the house after the sun goes down and during outages. Any excess energy created is sold back to FPL. The whole install attracts 30% tax relief. The entire project is run by Tesla's New Energy Division. So actually, we have citizens that are actually starting to do this now. So it's it's the first in Manatee County, a private residents doing this. So I thought when this was all related, that this is something that our citizens are actually wanting now and spending their own money.
Commissioner DeSabatino.
When we recently approved that small house community up on the river, they're doing solar,
that too.
so-
That's a development. This is the first
Giving
private
everybody a
residence.
Tesla, if I remember correctly.
It's Tesla.
Oh, no.
Part of it? Didn't they say
I
that?
didn't see
I
that.
didn't
It
see
is
that
Tesla.
part.
Yes,
No, it
Tesla
doesn't.
batteries are part of it.
Battery.
Yes.
It is a Tesla
Battery.
battery, not a car.
He did say you'd get a Tesla car.
Yeah.
Actually, this gentleman has a Tesla, and he built another third bay that has the electric outlet.
Right.
So actually, the sun will be powering his house and his
The car.
Tesla, his electric car.
Cool.
So I told him I was going to bring that up today because it was really cool.
We're getting a car, and then we might each want to buy
wanna
one of
buy
those
a lot.
units out there.
Exactly.
Before they go bankrupt.
I thought that's what he said. Could staff clarify? Was that, what did he say?
That was
He
a
did say
picture.
that. I don't know if he was serious.
And our new planner is shaking his head yes.
Actually, I was following hundreds.
Sir, can you got to go on the, when he was in Colorado?
State your name.
Ryan Todd, for the record, I have been sworn. Actually, I was following Hunter's Point on Instagram, and they posted a new posting advertising that, yes, in fact, a Tesla vehicle comes with every unit.
Wow. You were right.
I'm going to go on Hunter's Point. I'm going to go on Instagram.
We're going to go
then.
buy
I
them.
want to mention someone that you know who has, Tom
probably-
Gerstenberger isn't here anymore, but he has solar on his house, and he just sent me a message that said he was net zero last month.
Cool.
So, I mean, there are
We need to
people
do
out there
things-
doing it. Yeah.
We need to do things like this in our comp plan, our land development code to
But now
address this
this,
kind
now,
of thing.
Commissioner
this
Burnett?
is for
Wait,
the bigger.
Commissioner Burnett?
And that's why I think, I need, and I assume it was Commissioner Whitmore's comment that I'm questioning. So when you say this is the first time, I know a lot of people that have solar. This is the first time what? Maybe I missed it.
Tesla.
Their company coming in and doing a private residence. I mean, like I said, Mike Thrasher is big time into all this, and
Right.
But he has been told this is the first time in Manatee County he's had to go through this permitting because this is all new for them to try to figure out how to give the permits for this, right?
Right, because this is storage of the what I learned from talking with these people who do this all the time
17th
is that,
Avenue.
part of it is most of the time, solar generates more energy than gets used up.
Sure. The
In the
batteries.
time, so the battery backups are getting much better, so there's more of the storage, it's
Right.
not wasted, am I saying it right? Yeah, you're not wasting the energy because now you can store it in these batteries,
So that the
when the sun is down, now you still have the ability to have power that is not just going away. The battery storage was not as good as it is today.
So Carol, is the deal that Tesla's batteries are being utilized in this residence so that they can, is that what we're talking about when you say that
Yeah,
they're
the
doing something
store-
with Tesla?
Actually, what she just said, it's the first time, and Tesla was supposed to call me back, but it's their new division, energy division. And as far as what you just said, it's the storage.
Right, and that's what.
The power walls, they call them.
Last name, that's what Marshall was talking about with the Hunters Point project, is that, because they're going to put the same Tesla battery pack on those homes, or they're going to build it into a wall. Because nowadays you can build, there's
I want a
solar
red one.
roof tiles, there's all kinds of
So
technology that is out there.
So this technology that is going at a beta site, I'm going to call it, at your friend's house, is actually going to be utilized in the Hunters Point, is what we're saying.
Correct.
And we, from a permitting standpoint, from the county, being, we're concerned about permitting, and, I was thinking about that Hunters Point site, it is very much in the floodplain. So I would think that storage of batteries out of the floodplain might be an issue, just saying, I don't know. I wouldn't want my battery to get wet.
They
but-
actually showed.
But they're more,
Yeah.
it would be probably similar to, how you have your air conditioner elevated when
Right,
you
yeah.
are on the
Generator.
beach or
Yeah,
whatever.
above the
So these
floodplain.
things, I think they're interior to the house or on the outside, but they're they're not at the ground level.
Okay, but it is something I think is important to understand from a local government permitting perspective, before we, it's better to be understanding it before we try to write regulations to deal with it.
Right.
So that's important. Okay.
And
thank you.
Madam Chair, he is giving a Tesla for every home. I just went on the Instagram.
The one we approved on the
Hunters
website.
Point.
I'm kidding.
Not your district, but.
I know.
Yeah, not even
I'm
your future
upset
district.
about.
But you
Wonder
can
if it's a
get
matchbox or
you can
something,
home over there and take the RV
or a
over.
golf cart. Tesla golf. All
No, I'll do an electric car. in
right,
there.
Commissioner comments. Commissioner Whitmore,
That was what I was going to make a comment on. I'm done.
Commissioner Johnson?
Just one point, I got notice yesterday that the Florida Commission on Ethics has cleared me from any conflict with my son in his position.
Hallelujah.
Tell him how,
The quickest turnaround he's ever seen,
Yeah.
because
you know?
they used my opinion, right?
Right.
Commissioner Benak?
I do have one issue for planning, if you would stick around. And I meant to ask
you by yourself?
Jerry this. I've been working with Habitat for Humanity. Habitat has a proposed subdivision that they've been working on, and Jerry Lopez is helping them as well.
Samoset
And, yes, in Samoset. And this subdivision, as I think many of you probably have been briefed or went to some of the presentations they've been doing, they have small lots, smaller than our land development code allows. Nicole, you're kind of staring at me. And so they have to do a plan development, is my understanding. They're going to have to do a plan development. I don't know where they are. I know they've got some other things they're trying to work with staff on. I just think that because it's taken so long for us to get a land development code amendment to allow small lots without having to go plan development, that we should grant them a fee waiver.
Okay.
I was waiting for, I know, and I was waiting for staff to talk about this. I've not heard anything. I don't want to hold them up
Right.
from their process. I know they've got a lot of things that they have to work together. But I guess I'm looking for staff, and I don't know if I need a board motion at this time. I don't even know if it's
What kind of
appropriate.
fees?
But the application fee for a plan development, rezoning, because quite frankly, it's because it's taken us
And how
so
about,
long to
impact?
change the land development
how
code.
about impact fees and all
Problem, but I
that?
would want to kind of be briefed on it,
Yeah.
not necessarily,
Yeah, I
vote-
would
not to be, and quickly, but
Yeah.
not, I don't want to vote for that
Bring it up
necessarily
at the next
today till I
meeting.
have
And I'm fine,
information.
I'm fine. I don't want to be, I have told them that I wanted to help with this, that I was going to bring this up. I don't want to be behind the 8 ball, so that's why I'm bringing it up, because I haven't been pursuing this with staff quickly enough. So I thought, well, I'll bring it up today, maybe something will get rolling.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the board doesn't have legal authority to waive the fees.
Okay.
The board can do a county-initiated rezone of the property, but you need their consent, and it's difficult with planned development to do a county-initiated rezone. You have to be careful in your comments now, because you don't want to be predisposed to voting in favor of it, because in cross-issues, sit like a judge. I think John Bernard would have to address it.
He does.
And I knew that was the issue. I did not want to do a county-initiated rezone. I knew that. But I mean, you're talking about a very unique situation with Habitat. That they're doing 100% affordable housing development. B, they're a nonprofit. I don't think we're going to have many of these type of precedents. So how do we get the fee taken care of is the question that I have for staff.
I think the CONAP might have some
Okay.
information on this.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Ball.
Thank you. You know what, I understand where Commissioner Benak's coming from with that, and Habitat is always affordable housing. So perhaps the right thing we should do today is to make a motion, and I'm making the motion, to have the administration add this to a workshop so that we can have discussion.
Yeah.
I'll second
And
that.
let's put a date on it as in.
Madam Chair,
Quicker.
Madam Chair, I really think we need to hear from Nicole for a minute.
Okay, Nicole.
The Building and Development Services fee schedule states clearly that the unique situations or projects may be adjusted at the discretion of the department director. So Mr. Bernard has the authority to
Right.
look at this situation like that. I haven't been working on this project as of yet, but I think Lisa and Margaret might be.
Yes, I'm familiar. I know Diana Shoemaker, who, works with Habitat, and we have been discussing this with the affordable housing group internally. I haven't heard about the request for the fee waiver. I mean, where we are trying to get is but if they want to move forward now, the process amendments will not be adopted until December because of just the way it has to work. You do the plan amendment first, and then you do. And we are discussing that, and we are familiar, but there is a process established where the fee can be reduced, and it's also in the affordable housing section 500 of the code.
All right, Commissioner Ball.
Thank you so much. I had made a motion to have this come forward in a workshop, just to have a discussion. Shouldn't take long to discuss, but I do think in situations that Commissioner Benak is referring to, it is something that we should look at and see if we need to make a change to make it quicker, the process quicker. So I understand where the building department's coming from, but I do think that as commissioners, this is something that we should look at and discuss in a workshop, so we're all on the same.
I second that.
So Madam Chair, the workshop is just going to be more general on whether nonprofits have to pay fees. I've already told you legally that there's going to be some legal issues with this. And I need to ask
The
staff,
workshop would give, the way I understand it, will give direction on how to proceed and to move it along quickly.
It's
well, I
not
have to tell you, they're going to run some legal problems with that. I need to ask staff a question. Is this a penny application?
In which case, we should know what those options are legally.
Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
No, it's already been approved.
Can I'm on the board, baby.
No,
Wait,
the
wait,
Habitat-
let's
they
clarify for
haven't
the record.
submitted
Is
to
the
my knowledge.
application pending?
No, to my knowledge,
We're
they have
discussing
not
right
I'm
now.
talking about any particular project. Here I'm talking about in general.
Okay, well, I just need that clarified for the record, that we're a workshop in general on fees for
We're
rezoning.
not talking about a specific one with the motion. So, all right, so we have a
Really?
motion by Commissioner Bond, a seconded by Commissioner Whitmore. There's people on the board first. and then we-
Can do it.
Excuse me.
But I mean, I would
Sabatino.
have, but.
Commissioner Smith, do you have about this motion, or do you just want to be on the board after the motion?
I'm gonna support the motion, and I'll come after the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Benak, same question.
Yeah,
to be helpful.
okay, and that is why, I want to make it clear, that is why I brought this up now.
Thank you.
We don't have an application pending. I have talked to Jerry about this. I've talked about it. She agrees with me, and we had a workshop. This is my concern. I really don't want another workshop. We had a workshop. She actually put in that workshop the allowance for the board or for us to grant fee reduction. Remember, it was actually a line in one of the slides, because she and I talked about it. I'm concerned about having another workshop. I'm trying to move this forward to where they can make their application and not have to pay the giant fee for plan development, because it will cause the cost of housing to go up for them. It's just bottom line. You know, when you're a nonprofit like that, you don't suck it up, you don't reduce your profit. That's not how it works. That doesn't always work for the for-profit developers either, but that's another story. But the reality is if we charge this fee, then we're not being partners, in my opinion, with affordable housing. And we've already given that direction to our staff that we want to be partners. So I would rather have a motion to direct staff to look at this and bring us forward some options rather than a workshop. That's what I would prefer.
Madam Chair, may I amend my motion?
Okay, well, I'd be happy to, but Commissioner Whitmore, do you have something about
It's
the
about-
motion or?
No, it's about the motion, and then if Vanessa wants to work it. From what I'm understanding, and I'm asking the attorney, right now, from what I heard from staff, that John can waive the fee. He can reduce, he could charge $5. I mean, he could waive it administratively, correct, for this project. And we were told that by staff. Do you know if that's correct? Now,
There's a section in the fee schedule. I have it in front of me. I
she's
can't-
going to look right now, but if that's in fact, then that's a moot point. We kind of know, John kind of knows what we're asking.
I read from the fee schedule, what I'm in now is chapter 5
Yeah.
that Margaret mentioned.
Okay, and Nicole, am I right that John legally now could go ahead and waive the fee for whatever Betsy's talking about?
It says fees may be adjusted at the discretion of the department director.
Okay, so what
yeah.
are we even talking about? I think John's going to get the message that we want this to move forward, and
All right. Commissioner Benek?
Well,
Excuse me,
he only
Commissioner
gets the message if we give him the message.
Commissioner-
That's why I brought it up.
Commissioner Ball, you wanted to redo
yeah,
your?
change the motion for that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I'm going to amend the motion, and Betsy, perhaps you can help me here, to have the director of the building department move forward in trying to get rid of these fees
Not,
coming forward.
yeah.
So you're, no workshop?
No workshop.
No workshop. All right, so do we need to, you need to say that, I think, no workshop.
No workshop.
Okay.
Just said it.
Seconder agree? Well, I mean, that's actually, the
Yeah.
first motion was for a workshop.
Correct.
Okay, could I hear what the motion is?
Me too.
Get rid of.
You know, this is beginning to be too much trouble, guys. I'm just
wanna
going to
withdraw your
withdraw the
motion?
whole,
I'll
I
make a
withdraw.
Okay, she's withdrawing the original, she's withdrawing all motions. So we're motionless as of right
Why are
now.
we
Commissioner
fighting?
Ball, would you like to make a new motion?
Oh,
I'd like to leave it up to Commissioner Benak.
All right,
Thank you, I'm
Commissioner
done.
Benek.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to have staff bring back to us I would like to have staff tell us how this fee can be reduced and what they're planning to do to accommodate Habitat's application with a reduced fee. I'd like to hear from the building official how that's going to be done.
I'm going to second that motion with a question, Madam Chair.
I'm on the board, too. On the board, there's 3 of us.
Okay. What's the
don't
question,
agree with
Oh,
Commissioner?
I know that, okay, I'm sorry. First of all, I commend Commissioner Benak for bringing this up. I really do. Because she's correct, this is a need and we got to move forward. Money is time, even whether it's affordable houses or what it may be. Money is time. And so we need to take a commitment in this meeting here to move forward and get some type of direction so we can get this here moving forward. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Whitmore.
I think you're making more than what you're wanting to have done. I mean, to me, I would support the motion that says that you're giving we're asking that the director waive the fees for this project. Why are you asking him to research it and come back to us? It'll be forever.
No.
When we already, he already has the authority to do it.
I'm going to the ladies.
I
I'm
just
giving
wanna-
direction to him to
That
tell us
wasn't
how he's going to
direction.
do
I
it.
just want to stay for record, I think Commissioner Benak's motion's appropriate legally.
Okay, as
I have
long
no-
as the attorney's
I
okay with it.
prefer that
think it's
motion
gonna
over all the
bang.
other ones right now.
All right.
All right,
I'll support it.
before we vote on this, anyone from the public wish to vote, to have a comment on this motion?
The 4 people.
Seeing no one come forward, we have a motion made by Commissioner Benak, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Thank you, and I
Do
know
you
that
have
was,
any more Commissioner
Anything
comments?
else, Commissioner
that was a
Benak?
tad unartful, I apologize, but.
Yeah, it was painful.
All right, Commissioner Smith, you have any commissioner comments?
Oh, you took me
Land
already?
use.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, land use.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make a comment, on that, you know, you made may or may not be aware that this is the 50th anniversary since Dr. Martin Luther King. Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, who was assassinated, and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King will continue. If you look at what he's done over his life, I think it's benefited every last one of us on this board in some kind of fashion or way. It taught us to be leaders, better people. It taught us how to work together, and sometimes it taught us how to disagree. And so as you look back on what he stood for, and peace and the things he stood for, and specifically what just Commissioner Bernanke just was talking about, underserved, the poor, the ones that trying to get into a house, he fought for those different things. And it wouldn't be proper for me not to mention that in this meeting here, because the things that we see going on now and as we move forward, certainly what took place, the celebration in Memphis, and you've seen people who are still living, and from that standpoint of everything that he done and some of the ways that he did them, and through peace and nonviolence, allowed me to serve on this Board of County Commission, and allowed me to serve on his national board of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference as a past board member of SCLC. And it gave me an opportunity to meet his children and to work with his children, and to think that he died so young, and that the night before he died, he visioned his own death. When it happened, if you look at his last sermon, he talked about he had seen the promised land. And we believe that came through a vision. If you go further and see what Dr. Martin Luther King did, if you look at his funeral, his eulogy, it's basically they played what he had said prior to his death. And we believe that he's seen his death coming. Google his funeral and you'll find out the words in his sermons. It talked about his death. It talked about how it basically was going to happen, how he was not going to make it to the promised land. And it talked about the future. So I challenge you to Google that and listen to his words, because his words was his sermon at his own eulogy. It was interesting to find out. And it was so accurate what he said in death that they played it. And for those out there that seen King at 39 years of age to lose his life because he died for what he believed in, but most important, it wasn't selfishness. He believed in unity, diversity. He believed that we all was created equally. And he believed in the fellowship and Christianity of all people. And so I just wanted to say that in this meeting here, that we lost a great man, but we also have hope, and we work better together. And it's not really mentioned that a lot of whites died with King in the movement of desegregation, died where the ministers died. White ministers put him in his home to protect him. A lot of white ministers and people and store owners lost their businesses because they believed in what his mission was. So it was a combined effort of people working together. Women were killed during that process. But it didn't deter him, even though his life was threatened every day. And so I just wanted to mention that today. And Dr. Zenora Clayton, who came down here, who was special assistant to Dr. Martin Luther King, who took care of Dr. Martin Luther King's children, when she came here through tourism development, and Elliot them did a wonderful job. She talked about the death threats. And so I just wanted to say that this to my colleagues and to the viewers, that unity and harmony is everything, and sometimes we may disagree. But we had a man that gave his life for all of us, not just blacks, not just whites, for everybody. He thought all of us was created equally. I just want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ball.
Yeah, just to comment about Commissioner Smith, what he just said. You know, I'm older than most of you on this board, and I know you're a little older, and I recall Dr. King, and I remember the day that he was shot, and I remember the marching, seeing him in the front. I mean, I grew up with all that, so I remember it distinctly, and And I think it's sad when we look at the times that we're in today, at the difference of how racism is going. And because I think Dr. King would be furious with some of what goes on today. You know, I think we've moved backwards instead of frontwards. And racism is, you know what, it's not one color against the other, it's all colors. Every citizen needs to look at that and realize that we need to work together and be together, and this country would be so much better if we were all considered equal. And I don't think that that's always done. So I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner Smith. One thing I did want to bring up, and Commissioners, I don't know if you've seen any emails yet, but I can tell you that you certainly will. We have a lot of citizens in the Lakewood Ranch area that are very upset about the traffic on Lakewood Ranch Boulevard. It is getting worse. Amazingly, right now, we have signs up that checks your speed when you're going down the road, and I can tell you, people are flying on that road. And it makes it very difficult to come out of a neighborhood onto Lakewood Ranch Boulevard. You're taking your life into your own hands in a lot of ways. And it's not constant 24 hours a day, obviously, but during the day, especially in the mornings and afternoons, it's bumper to bumper. So the residents in several different neighborhoods are coming forward with petitions, and they're calling their commissioner. And I've told them that they need to talk to all of you so that you all know what's going on, in trying to get something done. I did have a conversation, a meeting yesterday with Saji and Chad, and they are looking. They're doing a study. It's probably going to take another month to be completed to try and come up with some solutions. But as you all know, there's nothing in the CIP regarding this. So, you're probably talking about years down the road. The issue here is that most of the growth that we're seeing in this county is east of 75. So, Lakewood Ranch and down to Parish, we're the ones getting pounded the hardest. And I use the word pounded carefully because I certainly don't have an issue. I can understand why people want to live in Manatee County. But the problem is that we're going to have to look at this issue and make some decisions. And the residents, of course, y'all are going to laugh because I know I've sat on this board and we've had this discussion in the past about four-way stops. And I've told the residents that was not the solution. I did talk to Chad and Saji about perhaps looking at roundabouts all up and down Lakewood Ranch Boulevard because traffic light's not going to work either. It's only going to make Lakewood Ranch Boulevard more congested. So I'm not the traffic engineer. They are looking at it, but I thought I should let you all know that this is an issue coming forward very soon. And it's probably not an issue that we're going to be able to say, oh, well, let's wait and just put it on the CIP. And then, it go through having to get funded. So just thought I'd bring it forward. So that you're prepared for it when it comes forward. And other than that, Commissioners, I'm not going to say another word. Thank you.
Commissioner DeSabatino.
Well, on that note, I just wanted to know what are their expectations? What are they wanting? Wider roads, stop signs?
Slower.
Slower, you said roundabouts?
Roundabouts, slow traffic.
They want a solution to all of the above. So it's really something where, they know that they're waiting, you might say, to hear from the county what we come up with. But obviously, their first thought was they knew a traffic light would not work. So they thought about four-way signs, and I told them that is definitely not going to work. There had been some discussion in Public Works previously. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I might as well. Coming out of Balmoral, they were talking about, and they'd have to do the same like there at Watercrest, I'm sure, close off the median on Lakewood Ranch Boulevard and have only a right turn lane for people coming out. That is, truly not a good answer. And Saji and Chad agreed that that's really not the right solution here. So the only thing I can think of, and I'm not a traffic, is, roundabouts. I have had a discussion with SMR regarding this as well, just to make sure they're aware that this is something that's going to come forward. But, you know, I mean, SMR, they've already done everything they can, so really, they're county roads, so they're going to have to be looked at. But we'll just have to wait and see what Public Works comes up with, what solution.
Okay, Commissioner Benak, and I'll get back to you, Commissioner Sabatino.
I have a question on something I forgot to ask, so it's not related to Commissioner Ball's discussion.
Commissioner Sabatino.
Also, while we're on the Lakewood Ranch, what's that connector piece that the bicycles and the traffic have always?
You talking about Hidden River Trail?
Yes, yes.
What about it?
How's that going?
I haven't heard any complaints.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I go by there every single day, twice a day, everything seems,
So are there bikes
Okay.
allowed on the street?
oh, yes,
Okay.
yes, it's open.
So you have that-
And there's a symbol on the road stating that,
Okay,
so
good. Is
it's
that
good.
the Sharrow? Okay. What I've been doing a lot in my spare time regarding affordable housing is meeting with some major employers. We had the meeting with the Chamber, Michael Gallen, and I just met with Bells the other day about their needs for affordable workforce housing. And so Michael's arranging a lot of these meetings, in South County, and also with Tropicana, Team Addition, Sun Hydraulics, so to see their need, if their employees need places to live, and then also utilize,
We're all here. The phone, we're all here, so no
I
one's
know,
there to answer it.
Oh, oh.
I'm sorry.
u- using basically bus service between the community and the work to keep extra cars off the road. And a lot of the millennials don't have cars or would not want to have a car if they didn't have to. So we're working with that. And I know Commissioner Benak attended that meeting as well at the Chamber. So they're going to meet with Bells on the 19th. And so I just wanted to let you know what I'm doing regarding the workforce housing. Still working with Mr. Pinto and Dave Gustafson. And so it's just a work in progress, and I'm glad that we're getting the ball rolling, hopefully in the Samoset project to waive fees and so forth and so on. So, you know, we just need to show the community that we are serious about it, and we're going to partner with them as much as we can. And actually, the fees are the way that, and time is money. So how we can partner with these companies coming in. And then I gave an assignment kind of to Michael Gallen to research other areas that have done this, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel and take the wheel from them. So he is going to be researching that as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Benak.
Yeah, just a quick comment on that. I think that's great because that is, you know, it's an idea that Mr. Pinto brought forward to the group saying, you know, again, part of the problem that he has with our affordable housing is it makes you enter into these agreements and it makes it very difficult to find people when the reality is these businesses have employees that need housing, and if you can work a deal with them, it's a much better and cleaner way to provide the product that they need. And so that is an interesting tactic, so I'm glad Commissioner DeSabatino is taking that out to the businesses and
they're
making them
doing
aware.
surveys. This was Michael's idea, to do a survey with their employees and mapping out where they live and how far they drive. So far, Arcadia Parish, Sarasota, Bradenton, St. Pete came up a lot, Northport. So they're all Brandon too. So
It's a real transportation issue.
It is. So if they can work closer, live closer to where they work, and we can have mass transit with different shifts, it takes a lot of cars off the road.
Yeah, and at some point, this is going to come back to us because we're going to have to find land where we can build this affordable housing. And we all know affordable housing means higher densities,
Right.
smaller units, and less fees. And we're going to have to figure out how to get that done. So
Right.
once we get all of the businesses behind us, I think that'll be
Right,
great.
and they're excited because the Bell's Distribution that's in South County on 38th Avenue, it kind of borders, Commissioner Smith and I are right there at Samoset, that, you know, they're excited that the John Marble Building is right near there, and they could, working on a daycare as well. It was interesting that one of the gentlemen that was in the meeting, they had a little luncheon meeting for about 6 of us, and one of the gentlemen had recently been hired from PGT down in Venice, so he knew what Ed Pinto was working on down in Venice and how far it got, and then it just, they weren't working with them as far as the impact fees. So he knows all about that. The daycare aspect of it, because the daycare is very important, and it was brought up that they need several different locations for the daycare because you sometimes are restricted to so many children under one facility and so forth, and it doesn't have enough, they don't have enough for the children. But the daycare aspect of it in Venice is still thriving, and it's been very successful, and not just the people that live in that new community, surrounding communities are invited to have their children there too. So it was interesting that he knew all about it, and so it's looking really positive, and just seeing how this progresses.
Okay. I have one thing that I wanted to bring up that I forgot, and I think since I see Mickey in the back of the room,
He always comes.
we're getting emails about Longbar Point. We have nothing before us on Longbar Point.
I haven't got anything.
Really?
Yeah.
About
You
the
did, you just did.
mangroves.
I know you did.
Did.
About the DEP permit, I think it is. I'm wondering if we
Waterkeepers.
can get a response drafted by the attorney that says that we can send to our constituents that keep asking us to deny the wetland mitigation bank or whatever it is.
It's
that-
in the courts.
Right, well, what I'm asking, and I think I have to go through the board to direct our attorney to write a response that we can send to these folks. I already sent one to one person, and I hope I was correct with what I said, but it's better, I think, if we can get the county attorney to write something for us so that we can send to them and say that this is not our jurisdiction, thank you, and this is, the process.
We can do that for you.
Okay. Do I need a motion?
So moved.
I don't think so. I mean,
I'll
We're
second
in agreement that we're
Yeah.
directing the county attorney to do this?
Madam,
Mickey gave me a
Matt-
Make a motion and then
Commissioner-
I'll
may I-
second.
Okay, I will
Make a comment before you
move
make the
that we.
motion, please.
Okay.
May I make a
Go ahead,
comment
make a
before you make the
motion.
motion?
Already said you didn't need one.
I want to get a clarification. I also have read, well, we did receive email, but we also received email that someone's reading another publication out of this area saying some may come before us with what you're talking
The
about.
Tampa Bay Times, that's
Right,
correct.
so I just want to be, that's what you're speaking of.
Yes, I'm speaking of the issue that is pending, apparently. Again, it's not before us, but I think the county attorney can address what the issue is, who has jurisdiction, so that we can send it to our constituents to make it clear that it is not coming before the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, I agree
And I
with
would
that.
like to make a motion that we direct the county attorney to
I
prepare
second that motion.
such a response.
All right, anybody in the audience wish to speak on this motion? See no one come forward?
Is that the issue with the Suncoast Waterkeepers and with the permits and all that?
Yes,
Joe
they've been.
McClatchy's the only, well, they backed out.
It involves the creation of a wetland mitigation bank
Yeah.
that is being permitted by the State Department of Environmental Protection, not by this government.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion made by Commissioner Benak, seconded by Commissioner Smith, I think. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes.
We'll get that to you in the next day or two.
Thank you.
Thank you. You done? All right, Commissioner Smith, you have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what Commissioner DeSabatino was talking about. I'm glad she's working on that issue. And certainly as we talk about affordable homes and what she's going through, I've been seeing a theme of people, we hire them and they go in other places to live, but we're hiring them here. And I got so many of my constituents saying, I've been living here for 20 years and I can't get a job. I live here and I reside here. We're going to have a conversation down the road on residence requirement. If you're making a certain amount of money, other communities, counties, cities have that. If you're a department head, you must reside in the county, or you must reside in the city of Tampa. I'm just saying, for example.
They used to do that in different
Hopefully
cities.
we don't do that.
Well,
It's a
could I
still a free
finish my
world.
thought if you don't mind? Okay.
Commissioner Smith has the floor.
Some don't do a lot of things. My point is that our numbers that we get is 388,000 people reside in Manatee County. And the census says that.
385.
381,950
Okay.
people.
Okay.
That's pretty exact.
Yeah. And so the numbers that we normally get for population,
This morning.
Commissioner Smith has the floor. Let's give him some
the
courtesy,
the
please.
numbers we've been getting with population increase and basing our decision on the population increase is not consistent with what we're getting. We're talking about 400,000 in this certain year. The way it looks, we may be 400,000 in the next 2 years. But my point is, affordable housing is going to be a key component that we need to discuss. Now, we can say what we don't want to do, but we keep doing the same thing over and not changing for the better on what we're doing, we're going to get the same results. Now, when I mentioned the idea of residence requirement, I'm not just being vague on that, to be specific to certain things later. We have to live in our district or we're off the board. Plain and simple. If we move out, we off the commission. I'm just saying, it seems to me, and you may not be getting, your ear may not be to the ground. I'm getting that a lot of people that don't live here are being hired, and the people here can't get hired. That's why I'm saying that. And you just keep your ears open and start looking at how we're hiring people and where they're coming from. That's the only thing I'm saying, and these people are qualified. And I'm putting that on the table now for later. Just start doing your own little, when people say where they're coming from and where they've been working. And I'm not saying not to consider anyone, but we got a lot of homegrown folks here that are saying, I've been trying to get a job here. I've been here 15 or 20 years. So I just want to put that on the table from that standpoint.
And I think we have been working very hard on affordable housing. I'm not saying we can't do more. Commissioner Whitmore.
Well, I wouldn't support that. I have nurses that live here that work at All Children's Tampa. So, I mean, it's still a free world and a free enterprise, and you're going to go with wherever you want to work, and I don't want to restrict that. But the Michael Gallen report that you have, can we have a copy of it? Because I actually met with Bells last week. I think they're meeting with a few of us. I don't know why, but anyway, I met with them last week, and we actually did talk about that. But if he does have a report that he gave you, could you give it to us?
There's no report, no.
You said that there was he was giving you reports on affordable housing.
He has, I gave him an assignment to do.
It was the Ed Pinto report that was given at a chamber affordable housing meeting, I think, maybe that's where you.
But Michael's researching it, he's in the process of researching it, so
If
when
you
I get
something,
that, I
okay,
will.
good, because that would be good, because that's one thing Bell's mentioned. And, yeah, and we're not done yet. And then, it's because they are very, they need affordable housing just like everybody else. But I think that what we did today is a good step for this one that Betsy mentioned, so I'm glad. But again, to require a department head or director to live in the county, we all go through the interview process. I've been through this before, I don't know why, but I mean, you go through the interview process, and if you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. You go on your merits of your qualifications or whatever.
Commissioner DeSabatino.
Yeah, and this is everywhere. Everywhere you go, it's the same theme. I was just down in Key West for a couple days, and, with the hurricane last year, a lot of homes down that way were destroyed. So, the affordable housing is just a huge issue right there. And so, it's everywhere, and, but some governments are fighting it, and we're embracing it, so that's a big thing. The other takeaway with Bell's was, and which is so different than 4, 6, 8 years ago, they have a need for employees, just like we do.
There's a lot of
And they
people.
can't get enough qualified employees that are, salaried or, what do they call it? Salaried or exempt.
Exempt.
Because of housing. So if they had, something really tangible to offer people for a great solution, at least when they're, like the Robbins Apartments, when you're on the ground level, so to speak, and then once you get on your feet, you're moving up and moving out. And so, like, getting people in, and then when they get to the next salary range, then they move on to something else. So it's a really critical need. I know when we did the county administrator's contract and we did the port director's contract, when they were first hired, they both lived out of the county, and it was mandated in their contract to, within a certain period of time, they had to move into the county.
That's the administrator.
Yeah,
That's
so
different.
those
I
were
don't
the,
think the ports is that way, I don't recall.
yes,
Oh,
it was.
I don't
'cause he
remember the
wasn't
county
here.
when he first
administrator.
Came here, when he first came here.
Oh, really?
And
See, I'd
the
lived in
county
Orlando
attorney,
for
we
3
didn't need to
years.
do that because he already lived here, but that was in both of theirs. I remember it. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, when this commissioner speaks, he speaks from conversations that he's had with individuals. I didn't single out the department heads, but to your point, there is people who are thinking about taking it to Tallahassee. Read the Florida Constitution. It states that your county administrator is mandated to reside in the county where they work.
What are you talking about there?
No, let me finish. Everybody cut in.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put a point. When we make statements that we don't care where people live,
We don't.
the legislature,
Commissioner Whitmore, it's Commissioner Smith's
I'm
turn.
not talking to you. I'm talking to
I
myself.
can hear you talking.
Well, excuse me, I've been listening to you all day. I'm sorry.
Come on, let's go.
Sorry,
Commissioner, it's
sorry.
Commissioner
I
Smith.
apologize.
It's
Yeah, because you've been campaigning here the whole while.
Listen to
Commissioner Smith to stay on subject.
Everybody speak, they're meeting with somebody with a campaign, and you throwing your eyes with
Commissioner
signals.
Smith, let's
Okay.
keep on
May I,
going
may I
where
say
you,
what?
whatever
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam
we're
Chair.
working on, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner may not be aware of it. It was placed in the Florida Constitution, unless they just changed it, that all county administrators or managers are mandated to reside within that county.
Within a certain period of time.
Number one, that's in the Constitution.
Okay.
And the reason that was done, because they were living everywhere. There is talk about department heads, and I ain't specifically saying Manatee County, residing in counties at a certain point. That's talk. That's why I serve on the Florida Association of County Boards. I'm trying to tell people information that I hear from other commissioners. So what I don't like or what I don't want to do has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm just putting something on the table that's something we probably going to have to look at in the future
Okay.
from that standpoint. And to the fact that I don't have to support a department head because, we have to vote on the department heads and confirm it. We found we wasn't doing that. I don't have to support anyone that don't reside in Manatee County. I'm just saying as an individual commissioner. So, and to your point, Commissioner, you're absolutely correct. And my last point, well, let's don't fool the people and tell the people when we ask for incentives and we say at these different businesses that the person must reside in the county, you must show that you're hiring locally. If we're not doing that, according to Commissioner Whitmore, we shouldn't care where they live at. But we sitting here asking questions, for them to get incentives, you must hire locally, they must be local people that live here. Now we're saying we don't care where they live at. So it's a mixed message. That's the only thing I'm saying.
All right, Commissioner Ball.
Thank you. I have to say this. I think sometimes government gets in the way. I think that's part of the problem. I mean, I can see why a commissioner would have to live in Manatee County. How can you represent your district if you don't live in the district, in the county? But being said, I mean, when you're talking about directors or any other employees in this county, I don't think the county or the state, anybody, should be telling them where they have to live. They should be able to live wherever they want. I don't know if I'll be on the board when this does come up, but I can tell you I wouldn't support it.
I didn't tell you I was
So,
bringing anything up.
I'm just making the statement, Commissioner Smith, not finding fault with you. I'm just making the statement. I think everyone should be
Madam
left
Chair.
to be able to live wherever they
Madam
want.
Chair. See, I have to respond because people are confused.
Go ahead.
I said
Hey.
employees can't get jobs.
Last comment on this.
Okay,
We're not voting
see,
on
you
this.
know,
It's nothing. I think we.
One thing
dirt.
both sides of the fence, Republican, Democrats, appreciate about me, is that I ask questions, and it's dialogue. And they see I'm constantly being cut off because nobody don't want that question asked, because nobody asked that question. I specifically said employees and people who want to apply for a job, who reside here for 15 or 20 years, are saying they have trouble. Okay, now we into the department heads and all of this stuff, and I never said that. I mentioned a blanket statement, and then I talked about department heads also, because I had to respond to that, because I never said that. So my whole point is, keep drinking the water and the Kool-Aid and misinterpreting what I'm saying, and don't keep your nose to the ground, because the average person that makes $40,000 or $50,000 a year know what I'm talking about. They know exactly what I'm talking about.
Getting ready to make less than that.
And the people who are applying for jobs, I'm just letting you know.
Okay, thank you. I think nobody else. And I'm the last one on commissioner comments. And just to kind of add on what Vanessa started with, Upper Manatee River Road is now terrible. And basically, the Fort Hamer Bridge has made a huge difference coming across Upper Manatee River Road, which isn't even 4-laned, for subdivisions and stuff. And once again, we have Saji and Chad working on it. And Lakewood Ranch, to me, is not half as bad as Upper Manatee River
Upper
Road.
Manatee is bad.
It's bad.
It's real bad.
Kind of let you know.
Yeah.
And see no one else, we're adjourned.
Good job.
Goodness.